Welcome back to another edition of Pages Promotions Virtual Book Festival, Autumn 2020. This is a production of Indie Reads TV, and we find our home on CNM TV in Troy, Michigan. We are super grateful for their support while we bring new authors and books to you. Today, we are revisiting our conversation with Diana Don. As you may recall, last time she was here, she did a reading for us from her fairy tale series, and today we're going to get an opportunity to pick her brain, ask her questions, talk more about that series and her writing process. So, hi and welcome, Diana. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Wow. Seems, again, it's odd for me to call somebody by my name, but there you go. It's like talking to myself, only not. It's kind of weird. Oh, look, Sandra's kitty. Okay. So, first of all, just to remind everybody who maybe didn't see the previous episode, tell us a little bit about your series, and then we'll get into questions and answers.
Okay. Let me start first by saying how it all started. I was in an online writing group back in the 90s. I know I'm dating myself here, but we kind of intertwined some stories in this fictional place called the Whispering Willows. And I wrote there for probably a good 10 years. And then the group shut down. We all went our separate ways. Life happened. And I just kind of didn't do anything with the writing until last year. So 10 years later. So I decided, well, why let all that time and effort go to waste? And I started to publish the series one book at a time. And in fact, I just published the 8th book about a week and a half ago. And there's going to be a total of 12. So a couple weeks ago, I did a reading from book 1, and it is the series is series is called Whispering Willows, and book 1 is Fall and Snow, and it is this one,
right?
So the premise is once the story of Snow White. Well, let's say she is running away from the huntsman and her stepmother, and she falls into like a time warp and ends up in this kind of remote village called Whispering Willows with other folks that are from the present day and past, historical figures. And she meets, or hopefully will meet, her Prince Charming in this village.
Awesome. Okay.
It all came about from this writing group. And so I thought, this is a unique concept. I'm going to go with it.
So why fairy tales and Snow White in particular? You could have picked from myriad fairy tales. Why did you pick Snow White?
Right. Actually, I was the only one who picked from a fairy tale in the group. And my favorite fairy tale since I was a little girl, Snow White. Have a huge Snow White collection, dolls and figurines and books and everything. So that's why I decided to go with her, because I really connected with the character. And for this series, I really made her my own and created a whole new character in that way you might see in the books. And she just has her own world. And she's got family and some new characters that I'm bringing in that relate to her. And it's just, it exploded once in my head. So I decided I'm going to put it on paper.
Awesome. Can you, I don't know if you have them nearby, but can you give us just the titles of the other books in the series that have already been published? Not obviously the ones that you haven't finished yet, but the ones that are out there.
Yes. So actually, I brought them. So the Fall and Snow is book 1. And then Forget Me Not is book 2. And these 2 are free download also right now. So book 3 is Mirror Mirror. Then book 4 is Gypsy Flower. 5 is Thin Ice. This one's a real exciting one. And then Barn Tales. This is book 6. Book 7 is Deceptions. And then book 8, I don't have a copy right now because the only ones I had were the ones with the watermark, not for resale, and I already gave those away to my family, and it's called The Mind's Eye.
The Mind's Eye is the last one then.
Right.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to invite everybody at this time, turn on your microphones, and feel free to ask questions, make comments, whatever you'd like. This is open discussion time. Remember when we were kids and we were in kindergarten and we'd sit on the big round carpet and it was carpet time and we all got to talk? It's kind of what this is. I'm degrading my brain power here, but that's okay.
Oh, can I ask one more thing?
Yeah.
I'll add one more thing. So I was invited to be part of a box set of short stories, short fairy tale stories. It won't be related to my series, but they're Christmas themed. And that actually comes out this weekend. But my little short story is called Jewel of Mine. Okay, can you guess what it's about? Snow White. But it's not related to the series. But I just wanted to throw that out there because I'm kind of branching out into other areas.
Yeah, since we're talking about that right now, when the book is released, if you could throw up a link to it on our Facebook page so people can discover it, that would be awesome.
Okay, definitely.
Cool. So at this time, again, turn on your mic and go ahead. Xander, you're first.
Yeah, I have a question. What is it about Snow White in particular that really pulls, moves, gets you? Because, I mean, look, white foxes everywhere. I get it. I have multiple white fox stories. So, when it comes to that, I get that, what you said about having a separate short story from the series about that whole theme. So, what is it for you about Snow White?
Wow. Since I was been a little girl, I've loved Snow White. But the funny thing is, that's a good question because I mean, things like Little Mermaid, Cinderella, I love all those stories, but I have connected the most with Snow White and different versions. I mean, I think I've seen all the versions. I just think that she's such a wholesome and pure character and child at heart, yet she's searching for her handsome prince and she wants to serve. She wants to like serve the dwarfs, her stepmother. She wants to be a good, kind soul. And there's not a mean bone in her body. So I kind of really liked that, her persona, her character, and I wanted to expand on that and create a whole new world and characterization for her, because I know sometimes even I feel like in some of the books she's portrayed as not too bright. Because like, for example, why would you be so what should I say, scared of the forest, and you're so trusting of everybody? So that's why I kind of wanted
there's an innocence about her.
Yeah
So
I kind of wanted to take her and just expand on her character.
So did you used to watch Once Upon a Time?
Yeah, I did.
Because that was very Snow White centric.
It was. Yeah, I did. I loved that series. And also 10th Kingdom, if any of y'all ever saw that back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that. Julianne, go ahead.
And just to expand on why Snow White thing, is she ever going to do anything bad? Or has she?
In my books?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you said she's so naturally good and pure and all of that. Is she ever going to do anything that she could conceive of as being bad and know it at the time?
Well, I'm going to, spoiler alert.
Oh, I don't want you to do that.
That's okay. Well, just future books, let's say she has to make a choice to try to destroy the villain. And, she doesn't want to hurt anyone, but the villain is a danger to her whole village and her friends and her loved ones. So she does several times have to make a choice to try to destroy the villain. Yeah.
So even her bad is good.
I guess in a way.
Yeah. That's cool. I like the idea that she struggles with knowing she has to do something that's maybe not the greatest choice, but it's choosing the lesser of evils, and the fact that she struggles with that choice, I think, is pivotal to that character.
I don't want to give any more spoilers, but I do introduce some other characters that are very important to her, very central to the story. They have a little bit more of a darker past, a darker persona that she has to help and deal with, and kind of help them along. So there might be a little bit more, darker sides to some of the future books, but not necessarily with her. I wanted to keep her on a more wholesome level. She is my primary character, and but she has a lot of challenges and struggles in the books.
Awesome. Anyone else have questions?
I always do.
Okay, well then go ahead, Julian.
So you have 9 books. Is that what I heard?
Right now, yeah. Well, one of them is a short story, part of a box set. And then the series has 8, and then I'll wrap it up with 12. And then I'm thinking about then branching out into just regular romance novels that aren't Snow White related.
Okay. What do you find, because I'm finishing my ninth too. What do you find is the difference as far as craft is concerned between the first to the last?
Oh, wow. The first one, you're just kind of introducing everything. You're introducing your world and your characters and your storyline. And the last one, it is so much more advanced as far as now we have new characters and we have the plot line is completely different and completely moved forward. And then now that the world is established, we can, you focus on other things, other aspects in the book, other characters, their struggles. You try to bring in a little bit more character development on some of your minor characters that you might not have touched on as much in the first few books. So that's what I've been trying to do.
So how much research is involved in writing your twist on fairy tales? Did you read the original Grimm's Brothers, and then did you take from that? Did you read Gregory Maguire and get inspiration from him? And what kind of research have you done to prepare these characters for your world?
Wow, I've read every Snow White version there is that I could find. But as far as other fairy tales, I also have been reading more of those because I am intertwining different fairy tales into the series besides just Snow White. There's some Sleeping Beauty in there, there's Beauty and the Beast in there, Rumpelstiltskin, maybe a little Rose Red. There's a lot of different ones I'm trying to kind of intermingle, as well as, present day, because there's some present day characters. There's historical figures like Christopher Columbus's brother is in the book, and Ivanhoe is in the book. So there's some different like characters you might recognize as well. Research, I love to research on medieval things because my husband and we love to go to Renaissance fairs and dress up. And he has a full suit of armor, and I go as the Lady Queen and all of that. So I love to research on Renaissance things and medieval things. So I did not to spoil anything, but there is a wedding in the book later that I had to go, and I did a lot of research on, well, what would you see in a medieval wedding versus like today? Things are different. The foods are different, the decor, the customs, the attire, colors, things like that. So I did a lot of research on that because I wanted it to seem be authentic and not just make it up.
Sure, absolutely. Any other questions? Go ahead, Luba.
So you talked about writing this with your writing group over about 10 years, you said. Now, were they completed works, and what all you needed to do then was just maybe do some cleaning up and publish them, or was there a lot of reworking afterwards?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked, because when I was originally in the group, we all knew what the world was supposed to be in the premise, because that was what we all agreed upon. But I knew that readers of this series wouldn't know anything. So I had to kind of revamp it, explain more, add some more, explanatory things, descriptions, character building, all of that kind of thing. And had to change I changed the characters' names, a lot of the other things. So I had to do a lot more world building and descriptions for me to publish them. But they weren't finished. In fact, I probably only got through book 10 or 11, because now I'm trying to finish up book 12, which is completely not finished. So I probably had 10 of the 12 books finished from the previous works, and I've been working on the other 2 books over the last year.
So real quick, obvious question, plotter or pantser?
Plotter. I'm such a planner.
Yay.
Oh my goodness.
Yay.
My whole life I'm a planner. I plan everything. The other day, yay, that's it. I went for a walk.
I feel so good about that.
I went for a walk the other day, and I sat there and did this big scene in my head with the dialogue and everything, and I'm sure my neighbors thought I was insane.
Yeah, I've been trying to persuade people to come to the plotter side of the world for years now. So it's good to know that I have somebody else in my corner out there. Anybody else have questions? So aside from the Snow White and fairy tales, what else might you tackle? You said that you were going to look at regular romance, but aside from, because the fairy tale genre is still very romantic in its own sense. So are there any other genres outside of romance genre that you might take a look at?
Possibly. I like historical fiction, but I'm such a romantic at heart. I'm always going to have some kind of romantic aspect in it. And my books, a lot of people have come back and said, we really enjoy your books being more focused toward a family friendly, young adult, new adult,
Mhm.
because I don't write like adult stuff at all. So I would like to keep my readings more young adult, new adult friendly. So
Awesome.
even with romance, it's still a very tamed down romance.
Deborah,
So
go ahead.
So I just had like a question because like I've never, like I keep hearing about more and more people who are doing stories based on other stories that are already out there and everything. And like, is your story really close to Snow White? Like, is there any type, I don't know, because I know her name is Snow, but it's not, is it not Snow White in your book?
yes, well, her last name is White, so she's Snow from the House of White. Her last name is White, so you'd have well, that's a spoiler later. She has a sister named Lily White. But I have completely changed, like Snow White. It was all her story until she fell into the willows, and then it all changed. Everything's
Okay.
So this is not fan fiction. It's you plucked a character out of literature and put it in your own story, and then
Right.
changed her dynamic as well.
Right. So you like in some of the other fairy tale authors I've talked to, they say you have a retelling and a reimagining. And a retelling is where you tell the same story in a different way. A reimagining is where no holds barred, just anything goes. And that's what I consider mine is more of a reimagining.
Okay,
Awesome.
that's cool. I guess I've never really thought of the difference there, and that's cool. Okay.
That's very helpful, actually, to
Yeah.
have those two distinctions made.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Any other questions? Dave, Michael, Xander, Diana? Any other questions? No? Okay. So all right. So let's think about this. Would you be able to be housemates with your imagining of Snow White? Would you be able to share the same house space with her, or would there be contentions between her character and your character, and you'd have to kick her out in like 2 weeks?
Oh, no. She and I are so much alike just because I love Snow White so much. Now, the witch, I'd kick her out.
Well, yeah, most of us would, but is there anything, I guess what I'm asking is there anything contentious about this character? Is there anything about her that somebody would just say, you know what, you are just not as great as you seem?
She's really naive and she's very gullible, just like she was in the book. That's why throughout the series, you see how much she learns. She learns a lot. She grows a lot. She goes from this kind of mousy, innocent, gullible girl to where she has to take charge and save people and become the hero herself, or heroine herself. And she has to fight, she has to fight her own battles and sometimes fight other people's battles and learn how to, be the brave one in a lot of.
So if you were to identify a character flaw, what would be her character flaw? If she had it, if you were to really take a look at her character arc, what would be her biggest flaw?
She is super emotional. So
That's a flaw?
Well, she, like in the first book, she has a lot of emotional challenges, a lot of decisions she has to make. And so she can get overly emotional. And one of the characters later, they're always like, you cry all the time. It's like, well, only in the first book or so. And then, she grows from there. And so then she has to kind of go from a motherly type in order to help nurture some of the other characters that I bring into the book series.
Okay.
I think that's, Diane, I think that's why I was asking, is she just totally perfect? Because I have a hard time seeing a totally perfect person, but if she's, other Diana, I think I see what you mean by she's too emotional, because sometimes that can be an imperfect thing, even though it's intended to be kind and nice. So yeah, she has an imperfection there. That's good. I'd kick her out just for being perfect.
Well, that's one of those things I always try to do is even in your grandest of heroes, there's still going to be a chink in the armor. There's still going to be some flaw that just really either grates on other people or creates some, she has to have a failing in some way or else she can't learn, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why I was asking about that. Yeah. Yep. Does anyone else have questions? Okay, so how long? One. Oh, go ahead, Julian.
What books do you read?
I actually do I like romance adventure. So maybe, and I like historical versus contemporary the most. So romance adventure, and it was set in historical, maybe not, I mean, I read other fairy tale retellings, but I also really like to read like historical fiction.
Okay. What would you consider your favorite book after Snow White, of course?
I really love the Lord of the Rings series. Okay. That with J.R. Tolkien, that's probably my favorite series. I love how he built a whole world, and then even had, later they find out he had supplemental material that he had. Mm-hmm. They brought in, and I just thought, this is so great, because that's what I'd like to do is have more of the world in my head, maybe even more that I put in the book, but then that makes it more real to me. So I kind of relate with him in that's what he did, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, Tolkien was not at a lack for overwriting. He had a lot of really interesting stuff that never made it to the published page until just recently. They've been republishing some of his notes, or I should say publishing his notes for the first time. His estate has been doing that. Any other questions, comments from anybody? Okay, so 9 books. How long does it take you to publish an average book? From sit down with the original idea to release day? How long does that usually take?
Wow, because it's different for me because I wrote these 20 years ago. So I had, as far as to revamp them, it probably takes me about a month, but that's because I'd already written most of it. From scratch, I'm still book 12, I had to kind of start that one from scratch. So that probably has been about, probably about 9 months for me to finish that one.
And that's including the editing process as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Well, my books are more like novellas. They're not novels. I mean, they're only about maybe, paperbacks. And how many pages is that? But they're, because since I have them in a series, I kind of I have little cliffhangers for each book. So they're not as long as a regular novel.
Okay. Awesome.
I love cliffhangers.
Yeah, no doubt. Jeez. Any other questions or comments for Diana at this point? We've got about 4 minutes left. Okay, so do you do a detailed outline with an outline with plot points and character maps and all of that stuff? Or when you plot, is it more of a general over arc and then you write from that?
I like to bullet point the ideas, and sometimes I'll have sections or scenes in my head and I'll put those in my notes, and then also say, okay, and I do an outline because I like to have a chronological idea of where I want things to go. So I do outlines. As far as character breakdowns, only for some of the major characters, because like I said, for some of the minor characters, I waited till later books to talk about them more. But I think the outline is more of, okay, so what are the events that are going on, and what are the action, what's the action, what is the resolution, and that kind of thing. I do put that in an outline.
Okay. Do you ever there's a technique for crafting character arcs where you sit down and interview your character as if you were a journalist, asking them about their lives and then taking notes on what they say. Have you ever tried that technique?
No, that's really interesting. I haven't heard that. That sounds really helpful.
On my website, and I'll post a link to it on Facebook, but there's a list of 100 interview questions you can go through with your characters to flesh out character arcs. So that's another one of those wacky things that, I found are helpful for me. Not all of it always gets on the page, but if you can, the more you know, as you said earlier, the more you know and have in your head, and that just makes this, I think, more vibrant. So I'm curious. I know some writers who do it and some that don't.
That's a great idea. Thanks.
Sure. Any other questions for anybody? Okay, out of the 9 books that are published right now, for two-part question. First of all, do you recommend that we read them in serial order, or can we jump around? And secondly, out of the 9 you have, which one is your favorite?
Oh yeah, you really have to read them in order, or you'll be
Okay.
lost.
Okay. Okay.
My favorite is actually probably book 5 because it's the most exciting, and I've brought in some new characters that are part of Snow's world, and it's got a lot of it's excitement. It goes more from the romance, and her meeting to now we're getting into some really exciting things with the villains and some life-threatening situations. So I think book 5 is my favorite.
So since the adventure aspect of book 5 is what's more appealing to you, can you ever see yourself doing what Deborah does and write thrillers or mysteries in a completely different world?
I could, but I don't think I'd be as good as Deborah.
We don't compete here. But do you see yourself writing thriller or mystery?
Yeah, I think I could do that. I mean, maybe I'd want to work up to that and do some more research and read some good books that are more like hers that are in that genre, and then maybe I could get some good ideas. But yeah, right now it's just, I don't know, romance is my first love, so I think I might actually end up with more of a thriller romance just because that's like my fallback.
I get it. Okay, we have just about a minute left. Does anybody else have one last question? No, we're all done? Okay, sounds great. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I really appreciate it. Diana, thank you for your time. I think it's fabulous that you've been able to, you're all the way in Texas, right?
Right.
This is so great that you broke into the middle of your day in a completely different time zone and you came to visit. So we really, really appreciate that. We're going to be back here again at 7 o'clock doing this again, and for the rest of the week as well. For anybody who is playing along, we're going to hand out a bunch of prizes at our Halloween wrap-up party at 7 o'clock Eastern time on Halloween night. So if you don't have little trick-or-treaters in your life, come on back and enjoy the party. In the meantime, this has been Our Conversation with Diana Dunn. This is such a cool series. I'm looking forward to reading it. I appreciate you taking the time out to talk with us.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. This has been Pages Promotions Virtual Book Festival Autumn 2020, a production of Indie Reads TV. We find our home on CNM TV in Troy, Michigan. Again, Diana, thank you so very, very much. This was great.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.